Hello and welcome to the Ruth MacFit podcast, where we're redefining what it means to feel great in midlife. My name is Ruth and I am coach and creator of the No Crap Cake Method, a simple, no nonsense approach to fat loss, fitness, and feeling your best without giving up everything you love. A quick note here as well. We are about to start our No Crap Summer Challenge. It starts on the 1st of July and it's all about building those habits that feel sustainable, that can actually keep you going over the summer. No extremes, just flexible routines that fit with your life, because summer is busy and at some points you'll be able to focus more than others. And right now you can get 20% off your first month of membership. To join, you can find all of the information in the show notes. I'd absolutely love to have you with us. So if you're ready to ditch your all or nothing mindset, feel stronger in your 40s and beyond, and say no to all the crap that drains you, then you are absolutely in the right place. Let's go. Hello, welcome back. Very happy to be here with you today. I had a very strange week last week because I had no children in my house. My eldest was away until the Wednesday, and then my youngest was away until the Saturday. And actually, my eldest was doing his Duke of Edinburgh award and he came back with the most sunburnt nose I think I've ever seen. It properly stressed me out. I mean, we managed to live in Barbados for a year and avoid getting sunburnt. And then he goes away with sunblock, I might add, and one of the walking hats that covers his neck and so on. And he didn't wear them on the first day, got really sunburnt. And then no matter what you do from then on, obviously it carries on. But it was so crusty. I've really never seen anything like it. I don't actually know if you wanted to hear that, but clearly I wanted to get it off my chest. And I guess if there are any other mums out there nodding along because your teenagers are like this, then yeah, apparently it really is true that SPF only works if you actually put it on. Anyway, if you tuned in to my last podcast episode, then you'll know that I talked about why fat loss is more than just a calorie deficit. In that episode, we focused on the science behind why we can't solely rely on the numbers and how mindset and lifestyle factors also play a huge role in lasting fat loss. So today we're going to shift gears a little bit and we're going to dive into losing weight without going on a diet. I know, sounds wild, sounds crazy. But when I was looking at Google Trends, it showed that a lot of people were Googling, how can you lose weight without a diet? And that is exactly what I want to explore in this episode. So instead of focusing on drastic calorie cutting or restricted dieting, I want to show you how small, consistent habits can lead to fat loss. And more importantly, how these habits can last for the long term without the stress and the burnout that can come with traditional diets. So if you're ready to build habits that stick without feeling like you're on a diet, then this is the episode for you. And you do know that I love to chat about midlife and what it's like, because I think when we're approaching a diet, we often don't really look at what our life is like now. And the reality of midlife is that it can be a very busy time for many of us with family, work, and everyday chaos of life, perhaps sunburnt children. It's that juggling act, isn't it? Emails flying in, perimenopause brain fog, PE kits that vanish into thin air, fitting in a smear test and somehow still being expected to find time for a workout. And then when you add in that idea of dieting, it can start to feel like this impossible task. And life doesn't just stop for us to go on a diet, and it shouldn't need to. But I'm sure that you felt that tension before, where your diet and lifestyle really do just start to butt heads. And the problem is that diets are often unsustainable. And interestingly, well, I think this is interesting. We'll see if you do. But research actually shows that yo-yo dieting, or that constant cycle of losing and gaining weight, isn't only just frustrating for you, it can also have long-term negative effects on our metabolism and muscle mass, which we do not want at this stage of life. It was actually a 2006 review in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that found that repeated weight cycling increases fat regain while reducing lean muscle mass over time. And that is a big deal, especially as we get older and muscle becomes harder to maintain. And I'm sure that you have also heard the term quick fix. And the truth about that is it doesn't lead to lasting change. Dieting is often setting us up for failure because it doesn't take into account our busy and unpredictable lives. So we want habits that are flexible, realistic, and most importantly, sustainable. And I know that dieting comes with a lot of baggage. That baggage can include that feeling of restriction, feeling deprived, and then that relationship we have with the scale, where you get on it, you've tried really hard and you haven't lost any weight, which adds to the stress as well. But I do want to tell you that there is a different way. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It really can become so easy that you don't know you're doing it anymore. It doesn't need to look like you're on a diet. And I want you to hear me out. In fact, I had a message at the weekend from a lady that I worked with 2 years ago. I think she finished with me about a year ago. And she messaged me again just to say, I'm still feeling great. I'm going on holiday. I feel incredible. And she put it down to the fact that she did it in a way that it just became part of life. It became so easy that she doesn't know or didn't know that she was doing it anymore. So let's begin with talking about the compounding effect, which is something that's really at the heart of how we create this lasting change. In the past, I've talked to you about the calorie deficit, but today we're going to take a step back and look at how those small habits can accumulate and shape our future. So I want you first to imagine two people. They both live pretty similar lives. You could even imagine that they are clones of the same person. They have the same job, the same stress, same family commitments. Nothing drastic changes in their routine, but they each make one small, subtle choice. So person one, or let's call them person A, decides to add a glass of wine to her evening. It's her way to relax after a busy day. She's not changing anything else, no major changes to her diet or exercise, just that one shift, a glass of wine each night. And the other person, who we should probably call person B, is also looking for a way to relax after a busy day, but instead of the wine, she's decided to do a quick 10-minute walk. And again, she's not changing anything else, just adding in that small amount of movement. Now, after a month, neither of them are going to notice much difference. Person A might feel that her glass of wine is a nice little treat after work, and person B might feel a bit more energized from her walks, but in general, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a huge noticeable difference. But as the months go on, there is this compounding effect that starts to kick in. Person A is adding around 150 to 200 calories a night without realizing how much it's adding up over time. And then beyond calories, alcohol is also going to affect sleep, stress levels, and impact metabolism. But we could change it so that person A was adding in a packet of crisps every night instead of the wine. But the reason I've chosen wine is because it's something that I can relate to. There was a time when I was having a glass of wine every evening as a way to relax or a way to de-stress. And then to stop myself from doing that, because I realised it was impacting my sleep and my stress levels, I set a condition that said never as a reaction to stress. And then I switched out for non-alcoholic wine, and I followed the no crap cake condition with it, where I went less often and more enjoyable. And actually, I hardly drink anymore because of that. But it isn't just about the calories. That's what I want to be clear of here. It's about how the habit affects our body in ways that person A might not have seen right away. I definitely didn't see it right away. And then we've got person B, who chose to walk, and they're reaping the benefits of that regular movement. And while 10 minutes doesn't seem like very much, it is consistent movement that's going to improve mood, increase energy, and help us sleep better. While 10 minutes doesn't seem like much, and likely it could be that if you're thinking about it, you might be like, oh, there's no point, I can only manage 10 minutes. But it is consistent movement that's going to improve mood, increase energy, and help her sleep better. And that small decision to go outside and move every day has long-term benefits like increased metabolism, better overall health, like the opposite of the wine, actually. At first, though, neither of these small choices seems significant. But by the end of the year, the difference between person A and person B is huge. Person A may have gained weight, struggled with low energy, and felt frustrated. Person B might now feel stronger, healthier, more confident, even without focusing on strict dieting. And the thing about the compounding effect is that it does work both ways, whether the habit is positive or negative. What you choose today doesn't just affect you in this moment, it pays forward into your future. The small habits you form are building the foundations for where you'll be a year from now. Now, it's what we do consistently over time. It doesn't mean we need to be perfect. It doesn't mean that we need to avoid wine completely. It just means that what we do now, most often in our day-to-day life, is going to be the thing that is shaping our future. And that's what Darren Hardy actually talks about in a book I've read recently, The Compound Effect, those small, seemingly insignificant decisions that shape everything. So now we've talked about how small changes add up, I want to talk to you about the habits that will serve you in the long term. One of the most important things to remember when we're making these small changes is that you should really choose habits based on what you want to keep. And by that, I mean keep for life, not just for the 4, 8 or 12 weeks when life is a bit quieter and more predictable and you think, right, that's it, I'm going all in on fat loss. You know, a lot of the times when we start a new health routine, we make decisions based on what seems achievable in a very short time. But then we struggle to keep them going once life gets busy. And I'm not saying that you can't aim for those things, but the habits you choose really should be something that you can imagine doing for life, for the long haul. In fact, I heard a really nice quote from Claire from Fit Positive in Ireland, and she said that really we're looking to live in maintenance and we visit a deficit. And I really like that because what we're doing consistently, you know, the routines, the habits, that's the thing we're going to carry on doing forever. That's what's going to keep us at maintenance when we need to. And then we strive for a little bit more. We push for that deficit when we can. We visit the deficit. It's also what James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits, calls identity-based habits. The idea is to stop focusing just on the outcome, like losing weight, and start focusing on who you want to be. So instead of saying, I want to lose a stone, you think, I'm someone who looks after my body. And when your behavior aligns with your identity, it sticks so much more easily. You see, if we're only committing to a habit in order to lose weight in a set period of time, it's likely to be something that you'll abandon as soon as life picks up again. And the reason this matters is that those non-negotiables you choose, really, we want them to be aligned with your lifestyle, not just that fleeting moment of motivation that you might have. And that's why I think it's important to think about your busiest days. And when you're setting these non-negotiables, think about what life looks like when it's busy. What is realistic for you during the most chaotic time in your life? So, for example, if you can't imagine doing HIIT workouts for the rest of your life, don't make it a non-negotiable. Instead, think about things like walking or stretching or an activity that fits in with the life you have on those busiest days. And again, if you can't imagine saying no to your favourite piece of cake or snack forever, don't force it. I would say it's better to focus on reducing the frequency or the quantity rather than cutting it out completely. Again, why I love the no crap cake condition. Think of the non-negotiables, right, as habits that support you no matter what, whether you're in busy season or not. These habits are the ones that will help you maintain long-term progress and make sure that you're not just dieting, but creating that sustainable lifestyle. Again, going back to alcohol, one of the reasons that I never said I'm cutting out alcohol completely is because I knew that I'd get that scarcity mindset with it. And I went with the no crap cake condition of less often and more enjoyable instead. So we've talked a bit about how small changes can be positive and negative, and that they can add up over time. So now I think we need to talk about focusing on what we can control and how we can kind of harness the power of small intentional habits for your benefit. As I said, the key here is consistency. When we make these small positive changes, they don't have to feel like big, huge, monumental shifts. The small wins, whether it's replacing one snack a day or choosing a 10-minute walk over a glass of wine, are the building blocks of lasting change. And the beauty of this is that you don't have to do it all at once. Small wins lead to bigger results. You don't need to overhaul your entire lifestyle. Instead, you focus on making 1 or 2 changes that fit with your routine and your goals, whatever they might be. And then these small, consistent actions are the true secret to fat loss and long-term health. As you build on them, they start to stack. You don't always see the changes right away, but you feel them. In fact, there was a researcher, BJ Fogg, who found that even something as small as flossing one tooth can spark a chain reaction that leads to long-term habit formation. And if we think about the person or person B that added in that 10-minute walk, that increased energy, that increased mood, that's going to change the other decisions that she likely makes during the day and make it easier to focus on other things. And for example, when you sign up for the No Crap Cake method and you're getting targets assigned, we'll set optimal targets to strive for. But the focus is going to be on making small, achievable changes that build momentum. It isn't about perfection. It's about that steady progress. The targets will push you to aim for more, but it's the smaller habits like getting better sleep, sticking to your evening routine, or planning meals in advance that lay the foundation for that lasting success. And when we're feeling a bit overwhelmed or stuck, I think there are two very important questions that we can ask ourselves to make sure that we're still headed in the right direction. The first one, and you can write these down, is how can I make this easier? And that's about removing the friction that keeps a habit hard to keep. So it might be how you can make your evening routine simpler. If you created this big, elaborate checklist of things to do before bed, then it's no wonder that you don't do it. So start with one, maybe phone off by 9, or clothes ready for the next morning. Whatever it is that can make tomorrow easier, that's enough. Creating a plan that's more realistic is going to make a massive difference, because when it's easier to do, you'll actually start doing it, even if it isn't perfect. It's the small habits like working on improving your sleep or taking 10 minutes to plan your day that can be absolute game changers. Genuinely, for me, there are a couple of things that really helped with change. One was an evening routine that helped me feel ready for tomorrow. And it started with just getting the tea ready for the following morning and knowing what I was having for breakfast. And then phone started going on charge downstairs before going upstairs. So it started to stack. And then there's an optimal and non-negotiable side of that. And then when I think about my morning, having a decent breakfast full of protein and fibre is a non-negotiable for me now. And I know what it is ahead of time. Again, it's making the rest of my day easy. And there's science behind all of this, because when we're reducing that decision fatigue, we're more likely to follow through. I've spoken about that before on a podcast, but it's so true, especially at this stage of life. You know, what should I have for lunch? Or can I be bothered to exercise? Those moments actually drain our mental energy. So make it easier with fewer decisions and then more consistency. The other question is, how can I make this more enjoyable? Fat loss and improving your health do not have to feel like a punishment or a chore. It's not meant to be like that. So pairing habits with something you actually enjoy can make them much easier to stick to. So for example, you could take a walk while listening to your favourite podcast or audiobook. You can invite a friend to join you. Or you could take a walk to your favourite viewpoint, or even to go and get a coffee. The more enjoyable you can make it, the more likely you are to stick with it. And when something is fun, it stops feeling like something you have to do. It becomes something you actually want to do. In fact, I had a comment from one of our members who had booked a paddle court on Father's Day. And she said that before starting the No Crap Cake method, she wouldn't have even considered booking an activity like that. She would have thought that it didn't count unless it was like a grueling workout. But she went, she had an amazing time. She laughed with her friends and her family. And it was movement that was fun. And in fact, she's really embraced that. She says that she's constantly saying to herself, make it fun, because it's fun. And it's never about changing everything at once. Of course, you pick one or two small things that you can keep up with and make them easier and more enjoyable along the way. It is, again, those small, consistent actions that you take now that will set you up for lasting fat loss and better health down the road. You'll feel like you can do more once you've got going with these small ones, right? It isn't a sprint. It's a bit cheesy, a bit cliche, but I'm going to say it. Fat loss isn't a sprint. It's more like a marathon. Or even better, let's just say it's a series of small, consistent actions that build on one another. So when we talk about those small changes, it's not just about immediate results. It's about what those changes led to in the long term. So I want you to visualize this big picture. Let's say you're gaining weight, but you eliminate one biscuit a day without replacing it with anything else. Over a year, that could save you 25,000 calories, which, as we said earlier, could lead to a really significant amount of fat loss. Now imagine another scenario. You start doing something simple like getting up for a walk after your meals, just 5-minute walk, or you cut back on one snack. These habits are adding up in the background. It doesn't feel like dieting. It just feels like you're making a couple of better choices that fit with your life, right? And over time, those choices are going to become your new normal, and the weight loss will follow. So here's my challenge for you today. Instead of focusing on dieting, start thinking about the habits you can adopt that you'll be doing a year from now. And they don't have to be huge, life-altering changes. They can be those small habits that lead to the fat loss you want over time, as we've discussed in this episode. So think about one habit that you can start with today. It could be as simple as swapping out one sugary snack for a piece of fruit, or getting up and going for that 5-minute walk each day. And I want you to know that over time, they really do add up. I'd also highly recommend, if you're not sure what habit to choose, embrace the no crap cake condition. And that's just really a pause before you grab something that's bang average, and say to yourself, do I want this, or would I rather have something else later? It's not about saying no, it's about making a conscious choice, a choice and not a reaction. I know that I'd rather sit down and have my favourite cake than pick at random average things that I'm not even registering during the day. And the tiny pause that you add in, that 1 second, really can make such a difference. It can stop you from eating on autopilot and help you make a decision that actually feels good afterwards. But if you are someone who's been Googling how to lose weight without going on a diet, then I want you to remember this. It is about patience. It's not about extreme dieting. It's just sustainable changes that fit with your life as well, not the life of someone you see on Instagram who might have a nanny, a meal prep service, a home gym, whatever else. I don't know. This is about you. Do it to make yourself proud. And if you're ready to start making changes, or you need a little bit of help along the way, then come and join us inside the No Crap Cake method. We talk a lot about these kind of habits and strategies to make fat loss feel easier and more manageable. In fact, the summer challenge is starting today. You can join at any time. We're running weekly challenges all the way through July and August. Each week has a focus, a theme, and you also get a little side quest along the way. The idea is that the strategies I'm giving you during the weekly challenge are helping you work out what you can manage even during the busiest, craziest times, such as the summer holidays. It's so that you don't give up, so that you don't just say, oh, what's the point? I'm waiting till September. Because when things calm down again, you're already going to be in motion, and it's much easier to keep going than it is to start again. You can push more when you can, but you'll adapt when you need to and never fully give up. So if you're interested in joining us, you can find the details of coaching at www.ruthmacfit.com, or you can always reach out with any questions on Instagram. I'm at ruthmacfit, and I'm always very happy to answer those. So until next time, it's been lovely speaking to you as always. Have a lovely rest of your day, your week, or whatever it is that you're doing. And remember that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Goodbye.